welcome to another Best Junglers episode, this one for patch 12.2. And guess what? It's finally happened. Talon has been removed from the role. Well, effectively. That leaves a bit of a vacuum atop the tier list and of course in your banning phase. Yeah, I know he wasn't performing particularly well at the end of that run, but he was still nonetheless something that could farm, that could gank, that could be everywhere, and was simply obnoxious. So along with that change, Lethal Tempo, Lich Bane, a few nerfs to Qiyana and Zed, as well as a Rengar adjustment, where does that leave the jungle meta? As always, I will leave an infographic with a class section on my Patreon along with the coaching VODs and coaching signups. But don't forget, if you want the best champion data for Season 12 and to have that presented to you in-game while helping you actually carry and climb, the Mobalytics champion page has everything you need. With daily updates, the build page has the best items, runes, and more, which you can also auto-import into your client. And for you NA players, it also works for ARAM. Should you have a nemesis in a champion, you can head to the counters tab, which gives you a full breakdown of 200 IQ strategies and the champions you can use to inflict your wrath. If you simply want to learn a champion to increase your pool, you can head to the guide page, which will give you strength, weaknesses, power spikes, and a full game plan, in addition to a full combo page researched by only the most gifted mechanical gods. Finally, if you want to mimic the best in the world, the pro page will show you all the details from runes to abilities to items. All of this is also available on Mobalytics' companion, so head to the link in the description below to download that, which not only helps you climb more, it also supports the channel directly. Right, starting off with the S tier page, Dinah has to go to the top. Now it's very interesting. Supremely popular. They rebuffed her to make her go back into the jungle, but her win rate never really peaks above 50. In fact, it is a little bit below 50. Now obviously we are not only going to be focusing on win rates, we have to look at things like pick rate, ban rates, how these champions are played, who's itemizing correctly, who isn't, but many players get caught up in Diana's ability to farm super fast and then one-shot an ADC. That means if you are focusing the wrong target in that situation, and you aren't exactly ganking and being active early, you're gonna find yourself basically getting fed and being useful, but you'll be behind in the game. Her power isn't really only farming, it's skirmishing, it's ganking, it's counter ganking. She has a gap closer, she has that huge wombo combo when you have the inevitable Yasuo on your team. Make sure you are looking for counter jungling, make sure you are looking for windows to be active early. Don't default and feel like you always need to rinse clear because that is not the meta. And obviously once you're fed and once you have that Roger belt, maybe you decide to go for a Nash's Tooth Perma split pushing build, which can be useful in certain elos. Whether it's Conqueror or First Strike, both are great rune sets for you. Pick the one that suits your playstyle the best, and then someone's going to tell me she has no CC, and I'll say death is the best CC. Kha'Zix subscribes to this school of thought, and you know what's very interesting about this champion? Everything. Now you will see some people complaining that they're not able to play Kha'Zix in high elo, and to a degree that is kind of true. But for the overall player base, he is always strong. There are always ways to make Kha'Zix work in high elo as well, you just have to be a good Kha'Zix. You're not going to be able to match a 6 camper, that's for sure. But good pathing, good isolation focus, understanding matchups, and obviously having the variation on your build and evolve path is what is called champion optimization. That and of course target selection and teamfight focus are the biggest things that separate a great Kha'Zix from a bad Kha'Zix. Hey, you might be able to do the Kha'Zix combos, but if you aren't optimizing your build and evolve path, you aren't optimizing your pathing and your team fighting sucks, you're just gonna end up looking like that silver 1 million point mastery Kha'Zix in that differences video I made where I compared him to a challenger 1 million point Kha'Zix player. But as long as you do those things, he's an S tier jungler for you. Next up is Shaco, and now in the minds of the truly devious, in the minds of the truly warped, in the minds of those who see the jungle like no other, this is a demonic hellspawn S tier champion. For the mass population who don't know what he does and basically just want to stare at the boxes and laugh, yeah, he's not very good. Embrace the way, embrace the unique pathing, and be hyper active. Assassin junglers with the cheese strategies need to use them. If you're for clearing, just wandering around the rivers and doing nothing, you're not really optimizing him either. Once you've completed the satanic ritual into the life of Shaco, now you're ready to take all laners to the hell that they deserve, and of course I'm on board with you guys with that. AP, AD, pick your poison. There's always going to be one build better than the other, but one thing's for certain, my jokery friends, make sure you know how to close games, don't let it go on too long or you're gonna end up in a rough situation with a 5v5 that shows you why the champion can basically feel really useless in the wrong hand. Next up we have Hecarim, and he is trotting around with a strut. He really has his head back. Yeah, they just nerfed the chem tank, but that's really looking at your laner Akali diseased builds, whereas here it doesn't really affect him as much. The win rate has dipped a very small fraction. So yes, while you can still do the chem tank mana moon build, remember, Conqueror, Divine Sunder, all of that is still very good, and was always very good. Hecarim seems to be very consistently caught up with these special and OP builds that kind of rise up from the ashes, and then people kind of forget that, oh wait, he was really strong with the default build. Okay. Following the Horse Ghost, we have here the Viego. All of a sudden, we've gone from a purely Kraken Slayer build into the Divine Sunderer meta into the Shieldbomb meta, and now all of a sudden all three are viable and Viego players are finding themselves confused. It's not very difficult, my friends. Kraken Slayer is great a lot of the time, Divine Sunder into your perma-fightery comms, and obviously Shield Bow if you need to survive burst early. It's just not a default OP build for you anymore. And remember that Kraken build, when you go with the Essence Reeve and full crit, you're a full-on assassin. You're dangerous. Become dangerous. Be everywhere. Invade junglers that you can destroy, and get those resets. If that sounds like I'm trying to push you and hurry you up to actually be active, that's what I'm doing, because a lot of Viegos are way too passive. You have a huge ego, a giant sword, and no shirt. Show them who you are. Just not too much of yourself, please. Following that, we have Graves, and you know what? I put him in A tier last time, and I still kind of think, yeah, you know, he's fine. He's just not turbo OP. The shield bow nerfs did affect him slightly, but again, they also didn't. Because if you're rushing Ghostblade and then deciding, do I go full lethality or full crit after this? That's really something that happens once you already have an item, have already done a bunch of stuff, and already snowballing. It's really weird, right? Normally, Kha'Zix is the one that's ever present, and Graves kind of gets nerfed and buffed and nerfed and buffed, and he's in the meta or he's out of the meta. But lately, he's just always there. He's always viable, he's always strong. While it isn't the full sequencing, yeeting the camps for all days meta, it's still a very good one because he likes to fight and he likes to get in people's faces. And if you make one mistake, you do lose your whole jungle, so that's consistent. What's this? Kayn on the S tier page? Yeah, you know, with all these melee people running around, Rast is enjoying himself a good time. I have seen people asking, can I do Eclipse? Can I do lethality Rast? I mean, you can, but at the same time, why? You don't really have to. The AD ratios are nutty, but I find the most fun about Rast is simply not dying with Gore Drinker and Sterex and, you know, Spirit Visage and a Death's Dance, maybe even a GA. At the same time, Blue Kayn is always relevant whenever there's a full squishy team comp, but the biggest takeaway for me with Kayn is that if you need to skirmish, if you need to farm, if you need to counter jungle, and if you need to adapt your form based upon whatever needs you see in champion select, he can do those things. And remember, the E is such a powerful tool. You need to rotate to scenarios, he can be there. When you have things like Talon, obviously used to have Talon, Hecarim, cheese balls like Shaco, and fast farmers like Diana, having something that not only can actually fight them and handle them as the game goes on, but rotate efficiently and keep up with farming efficiently is always going to be a great champion to match up. Not content to be thrown out of the meta with those E nerfs, as I said, more of a high elo nerf, she showed up in the cinematic and looked absolutely exquisitely glorious. She's decided that those nerfs did nothing and I'm gonna go back to Q-maxing and destroying you anyway. If there happens to be a ganking jungler, well, she's actually just better at the ganking. If there happens to be a farming jungler who's maybe doing more camps, she can match up quite well in a 4 camp and use that experience lead, which is what she's so great at, to just eviscerate them. Alternatively, if they're farming a little too much and she's just spam ganking every lane, they now are behind and they fall back into their jungle and are kind of afraid to move into the river because it's a Rek'Sai. A multi-threat, all over the place, giga snowballing hyper threat. That's what she is. And now we move on to the A tier page, and it's worth noting, remember as we see Fiddlesticks in the first slot here, that when you have nerfs to multiple items and systems, it's really interesting to watch the cascade effect on win rates with random champions. Some go up, some go down, because a certain counter might be nerfed due to lethal tempo, but because the champion that they countered now is better, a champion that counters them is also good. You follow? But Fiddlesticks is none of those things. He's just one of the best to main, one of the best to one trick, and will always be good. Low ban rate, low pick rate, people always forget what it does, and they always underestimate the sucky suck. Following this is Nunu and Willem, and honestly, I was really hoping the Volibear buffs would take them away from this slot and just knock them down a bit, and we'd have Volibear back in the meta. But that win rate has gone up a little bit, and I don't think he's really supremely OP and deserving of a slot just yet. We will observe the data. Whereas Nunu and Willem are essentially the tank version of Kha'Zix and Graves. They are perpetual, they are the best, and in short, you keep on rolling and they will keep on hating, because that's what people do to Nunu players. Echo the Time Lord is saying, hey, wait a second, you changed Lichbane, let me see, okay, I'm good anyway, I was good before, I'm good now, nice. They've obviously reshuffled the Lichbane a little bit, changing the building path from Blasting 1 into a Phoenix Codex. The Blasting 1 really was a super strong item spike. People were going Sheen for some reason. If you got Blasting 1, it's way better for your clears and so on. However, the most important thing is that they buffed the AP ratio on the Spellblade and they lowered their cooldown. The result thus far, even on smaller data, is showing a 2% increase on the win rate for Lichbane as a second item. AP ratios, whenever they're buffed, they always feel good, yeah? And I'm sorry for any of those who enjoy playing AD champions. Trundle, he's good. And they did nerf the lethal tempo, so you're saying, haha, they nerfed lethal tempo. Yeah, in the early levels, it's better late game, and now scales with levels. So as Trundle gets stronger throughout the game, Trundle gets even more stronger throughout the game. If you have a tank and a Yasuo on your team and they have a Trundle, yeah, I'd be concerned because that W allows them to be everywhere quite quickly, but also the attack speed is hilarious. And the Trundles who are very good at pillar fisting are having the most success. Next up is Warwick, and obviously the lethal tempo does affect him in terms of nerfing that early game invade and skirmishing, but if you're a PTA gamer, nothing changes for you. Honestly, his win rate and play rate are a little bit lower, but the champion hasn't changed, and that's what's funny. You'll go through phases where people just think the champion's giga useless and you're trolling if you play it, and then he's the most broken design champion in the game. And nothing has been buffed, and you're just existing and doing your thing. Keep on blind picking him, he's an excellent tool to climb, you can easily get mastered with him still, Very, very strong pick. Just understand your limitations, the healing, the passive usage, and basically understand the Q through E combo, how to use your E and layer it with your R, how to use them together in conjunction. There's a lot of high skill ceiling things you can do with Warwick that really showcase your skill in the champion, and that comes down to mid game and late game teamfighting and prowess. Next we have Xin Zhao, and yeah, he's still great in high elo, he's still picked, but I'm not really fearful of Xin Zhao. I see him and I'm like, okay, Trundle. So while he can match early pressure, while he still can snowball, while he's still very dangerous, while all the things that make him good still exist, I just don't really think he's as powerful in the meta as a lot of people still think, and they're all more fun, entertaining choices that you can play, and also matchups that allow you to deal with him. And now what is this? Who's next? Okay, Elise returns. She heard there was an AP ratio buff on the Lich Bane if you'd like that build pass. She also heard that, you're nerfing some other things around and she can kind of match up very well at the moment. She also got those direct buffs a short while back. At least it feels a short while back. Regardless, it is a bit of a ganking skirmishing meta. And if Rek'Sai is strong, it stands to reason that she can be strong as well. However, the downside is she can't really do those Raptors and Krugs as easily. So you really do need to understand your pathing and matchups with other junglers and which lanes you want to gank. She can and does still work. Her win rate is spiking and booming, which is why I'm putting her here as a good mention for you guys who want to play her. However, never before has there ever been a meta where Elise is good, but only good if you are supremely decisive. Whereas Evelynn, oh wait, another AP champion that hasn't been here in a while. Remember, while full AP and raw AP is just an exquisite stat on Evelynn, historically on the rework I was always saying just go Lich Bane because of the E. Now that was a lifetime ago and many things about the game have changed since then. But what's happened is those who do still go Lich Bane second, that win rate has gone up by 2% just like the Ekko, which means it boosts her overall win rate, and obviously having ability haste on that and having it up more often is obviously very nice. Not that a 2.5 second and 1.5 second shift affects Evelynn, but AP ratios do and ability haste does also. Just remember in this meta it's very important to track, get a counter gank in, and while you're full sequencing, get that level 6 as soon as possible. But don't force things early, don't go into bad matchups and try and 1v1 them. Use reverse clearing, use full sequencing, understand where they want to be and play around it. And once you get to that 6 quickly, once you get some raw AP, now you can pressure the map very well, and whenever they nerf an early game rune like a lethal tempo that might invade and ruin Evelynn's early game, she tends to see a little bit of a resurgence in the win rate in the subsequent patch. And now onto the low elo page. Is anyone surprised? Nothing much has changed, although I've slapped the Diana in there and I brought back the Volibear. While his win rate in Plat Plus, Master Plus, and Diamond Plus and yada yada isn't that much better, in low elo it is significantly better. So if you want gold, go try out my Volibear guide on Zada.gg, which is basically premium jungle Volibear content. It will help you learn everything you need to know. Use the buffed Volibear and go get some free LP while it lasts. And yeah, obviously the buff Nocturne and Trundle and Shaco and Diana, all of these are also doing and performing very well as usual, like the Amumu that we always have. And finally, the high elo page, Hecarim, Diana, Rek'Sai, Nidalee, Graves, Viego, Lee Sin just as a byproduct of being supremely popular and always used, although there are better choices, as well as Ekko. The Talon, yeah, no more. The Zed definitely hurt high elo more than the average player base, you can still use it, but Kiana nerfs were definitely more for mid lane because her win rate in the jungle is very, very good, and honestly, good honorable mention should be on this list, so imagine she's here. The Rengar changes did affect him a little bit, but remember, he's never going to be a widely popular, super high win rate S tier champion. If he is, he's gonna be broken. So in the hands of one Triggs, enjoy your buffs. In the hands of Challenger Rengars, enjoy your climb. But he is where we want him. We definitely don't want Rengar to be overbuffed because that's just a concern for everyone. As always, you can use whatever you want in high elo to get there if you're particularly proficient on the champion. There's a lot of champions such as Xin Zhao and Kayn and Trundle that will work, especially Kha'Zix. Actually, Kha'Zix is super good. But here we're concerned with kind of fusing what is good with the data. Just remember the sample sizes in high elo solo that the pilots very heavily control the data. Who's playing what will determine the win rates. But there you have it. Keep an eye on things like Volibear, keep an eye on things like Elise. They could be very interesting going forward. Those are your best junglers for patch 12.2. I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and comment if you did. And as always, I will see you all either on stream or in the next video.